I decided to take from two of my videos on the Baphomet and edit them together so that I would have just one complete video for people to watch. They are older videos, so my recording quality was not very good, but I hope that you will still find them informative and maybe helpful in some way. So thank you for watching and enjoy the videos. So there's a lot of confusion about the Baphomet. We've all seen the image. We've all heard certain things about it, but for the most part it is something that is mostly speculated on, and even a lot of assumptions have been made about it. Now, as with everything in this world, almost everything in this world, there are some secrets that we are simply never going to find out in our time. But I do believe that almost everything in the world is hidden or contained within the Bible for the discovery of those who are in the Father's house, those who have salvation by His only begotten Son, Yeshua HaMashiach, who's also called Jesus Christ. These things are in the book for us, and for those who would like to study the Bible to understand the mysteries without the true light that is Jesus Christ, those people are going to find nothing but a snare, a deep pit to fall in. So I'm going to get into this, and hopefully I'll be able to shed a little bit of light on it. I'm not claiming to know everything, but there's a little bit that I can add, and hopefully by the end of this people will feel like they have been edified and helped, because that's all I want to do here. So I have my opinions about the Baphomet, and the things that I want to speak on in this video are: number one, the Baphomet's the image of the Baphomet's biblical inspiration; number two, how the Baphomet reflects the deception that Gnostics are under and how Jezebel uses it for her gain; number three, the weaponization of gender confusion and Satan's war against God's people. So we have I decided to throw in the Kabbalah tree of life in here. Kabbalah, not to be confused with the mother goddess Kibali, or maybe they should be confused for each other, because maybe they might be tied in a way that I don't know. So we have the Kabbalah tree of life here in this picture next to the Baphomet figure. And what I wanted to demonstrate was that there is a link in the way these things are designed. You see, in the Kabbalah tree of life, you have a left side and a right side, and then you have a middle path. As we see in the Baphomet, we have on the right hand side we have the salve, and on the left hand side we have the coagul. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. I hope I pronounced it right. But one is to solve and one is to break apart, and to break apart. And so, and then there's the synthesis in the middle path. So the right hand side is the masculine side, and the left hand side is the feminine. Now naturally, if you have a feminine side and a masculine side, and you introduce a middle path, then of course that middle path is going to become the hermaphrodite, having both feminine and masculine traits. So many people see the image of the Baphomet and they see the well, they look at it and they see Satan, right? Okay, but there's actually a reason for it to be a hermaphroditic figure, and it's not because Satan is actually hermaphrodite. And just to make a quick note and edit here, I honestly don't believe that the Most High created hermaphrodites. I don't know how they came about. I believe this may be something by the fallen, some sort of genetic manipulation, but it's definitely not the way a person was intended to be born, and it's definitely not the form that the Most High created angels or even spiritual bodies to be in. There is a definite male or female, and that's it. So moving on, although the color blue is typically viewed as a masculine color, blue is symbolically a feminine color. It represents water in the passive or receptive principle. Red is the color of sin in the Bible, but it's also a masculine color because it represents the fiery and active principle in nature. Now the color purple is the synthesis of the two principles. So red is masculine, often associated with fire, and blue is passive. Now I know when we typically look at the color blue, we assign it to boys, but it's sort of feminine because it's the cooler color, and the receptive color is not the fiery and the hot color. It's the milder and more passive color. Anyway, I wanted to go back to the colors of the red and blue again. Also, the red being masculine and the blue being feminine, and it came to my my attention also that the political colors are also red and blue, and I hadn't really paid attention to that before, but I don't know I don't know if they mean to say that the Republican Party is more masculine than the Democratic Party is, or if it's just a matter of they simply decided to use those colors because they're opposites. I don't know. But so in Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 15 through 19, we are given a clue of what the Baphomet embodies, and it is the amalgamation of everything that the Most High Elohim has warned us against worshiping on the earth and in the heaven above. So beginning at verse 15, take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, and the likeness of any fish that is in the waters, beneath the earth. And lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun, and the moon, and the stars, even all of the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them. Now, as you can see, the likeness of male and female are found in the breast and the phallic little object there. We have the likeness of the beast, and that is the goat, and the scapegoat is in the Bible, well, it's translated as scapegoat, but in Hebrew it was Azazel. The likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air. We have the wings there on the Baphomet. The likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground. We have the two snakes or the serpents coiling around the phallic symbol. The likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And behind the phallic symbol you have scales there on the let's see, the Baphomet's abdomen. Fish scales. The sun on the right side, the moon on the left side in the lower corner, and the stars. And you have the pentagram on the goat's forehead, which is the symbol of Venus. And in the Freemasonic lodges, they call it the blazing star, and some would say that it's a symbol of Sirius, not Venus, well, even it is, but I'm just giving you the other interpretation of it. Some say that it is the symbol of Sirius, and Sirius is worshipped as the embodiment. It was worshipped by the ancient Egyptians as the embodiment of the goddess Isis. So I want to, I hope that kind of enlightens people, because I saw that the first time I saw that, I was watching Mike Haggard, Pastor Mike Haggard online, and one of his viewers had gave him a tip and pointed that out in the Bible, and lo and behold, there it is. Every part of Baphomet and everything that the Most High asks us or commands us not to worship is all embodied in the Baphomet, and it's like a slap in the face to him, really. So we a lot of people see that figure at Baphomet and they say, oh well, that's Satan, and so that must mean Satan is a hermaphrodite. But actually that is just, the Baphomet is an expression, an alchemical expression. And what I mean by alchemical expression means, what I mean is that it has to do with transforming things, alchemy, transforming something from one state to another. And you can look at it, you can look at the two pillars as either light and darkness, or beauty and strength, or intellect and wisdom, and any two opposites, and the middle as being the harmony or the fusion between them. And so that's what that figure is all about. So I want to point out a few things here in the Nag Hammadi codices, and these are Gnostic scriptures. And here, let me show you Alexandria, where the Nag Hammadi codices were found. And these scriptures are self-identified as Gnostic. So when I point out to people that these books are Gnostic, there's no need for anyone to be offended by that, when the books themselves will not just me, but the whole community, if they're honest, will admit that these things are Gnostic. So YouTube teachers will often quote from things like the Gospel of Thomas and not tell you that these books are Gnostic. So you really have to try to find out, if you're following somebody on YouTube, find their sources, ask them for their sources, ask them where they get their information from, how they come up with their opinions, and they should be honest with you and open with you, telling you exactly where they found their information. So at the Gnostic Society Library, or the gnosis.org, there you have the Gospel of Thomas, and I want to also demonstrate how the Gnostics have a belief in this, almost like a literal belief in this synthesis between the male and the female, and the opposites. And so let's just read here. Jesus said to them, when you make the two into one, and when you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, and when you make the male and female into a single one, so that the male will not be male, nor the female be female, when you make the eyes in place of an eye, and the hand in place of a hand, a foot in place of a foot, an image in place of an image, then you will enter the kingdom. Now, it may sound the same, but it's a perversion of what God has intended. And so that's how a lot of these Gnostic gospels work. They are obviously ripoffs of the truth, but with that leaven in there. So in Matthew chapter 19, verse 4 through 6, we can read here, and Jesus answered and said unto them, have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? And said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more two, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. Matthew 19, verse 4 through 6. So this is the oneness that the Most High Elohim has established. In John chapter 17, verse 20 through 23, we read, Neither pray I for these alone, but for them also which shall believe on me through their word, that they all may be one, as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us. That the world may believe that thou hast sent me, and that the glory which thou gavest me I have given them, that they may be one, even as we are one. I in them, and thou in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that thou hast sent me, and hast loved them as thou hast loved me. So as, or even as, means in the same way. So there's a lot of assumptions made in the by Christians. There are certain things you could say that will get people worked up and offended and calling you a liar and a deceiver. But the truth is that the Bible says certain things as plain as day. To be one does not mean that you are the same individual as someone else. It means that you are united with that person, or there is a spiritual bond there. There is some sort of unity, but you don't actually become one and the same. Gnostics will claim that Adam was created a hermaphrodite in the image of God, meaning that he was both male and female in one before Eve was taken out. This is what they say. Okay, this is not what I'm saying. But the Bible tells us that the Most High created Eve from a rib taken from Adam's side. So in their logic, it's the Most High's will that these two should literally be joined into one temple again. It's the synthesis of the masculine and feminine principles existent in nature. And think about how that reflects on the image of God. So you're saying that God was a hermaphrodite. So that by extension that leads to Jesus Christ being a hermaphrodite. And also, as I pointed out in one of my videos, I believe the video is called Androgyny versus Jesus in the Bible, it's very important that it's part 2, very important that we understand that Jesus Christ is symbolized by the sun. He is not the sun, but he is symbolized by the sun. He is not symbolized by Venus. Now see, the sun is also a morning star. People don't understand that the sun rises in the morning. It is a morning star. But people think morning star, they identify with Venus. Okay, Venus is feminine. Venus always going back as far as you can go back. Ishtar, Astaroth, name the goddess, it's associated with Venus. And so when Jesus comes out and says, and also Lucifer is an epithet of Venus. That is another name for Venus, Lucifer. So when people say, well, look, Jesus Christ said he was the morning star, he's saying he is Lucifer. And not just that, but since Venus is feminine, he is both male and female, or he can be either one. And so this is going into the Baphomet agenda. And right now what I've been trying hard to do is to get I don't want to come across the wrong way. I'm no better than anybody else out here, but I have to use this word. Ignorant. People are ignorant. Especially Christians are ignorant. They are making assumptions. They are saying things that are not true. And they don't understand the weight of what they're saying. So if you say that Jesus Christ is the morning star and he's associated with Venus, you don't understand really what you're saying. You're going right into the agenda of the mysteries and the Gnostics. You're playing right into their hands. Jesus Christ is symbolized by the sun. He is the Son of Righteousness. I don't want to go over that right now because I've already covered that in the video. Please, if you want to know more about that, just ask me for a link if you want to, or just look for it on my channel. So he is symbolized by the sun, the Son of Righteousness, not Venus. I hope you're starting to see how useful the image and the idea of the Baphomet is to the adversary. It's not only an image representing an antichrist philosophy, but it's also a direct assault on the image of God. I've touched on this before in my video called No Man's Land, Jezebel's Subtle Manslaughter. I believe there's much more to the attack on God's image than meets the eye. And in that video I get into exactly you see a lot of instances where even the children are being sadly they're being sucked into this idea that, well, if you don't feel like a boy, you don't have to be a boy, or if you don't feel like a girl, you don't have to be a girl. And the whole thing is, well, if you're not created to be what you're created to be, you know, you just happen to be what you are, but you're not really that on the inside or on the spiritual side. And that is a lie that we have to fight. Jezebel's teaching of gender confusion exalts itself against the knowledge of God and puts asunder what he has established. In 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 3 we read, "But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve." I'm sorry, that was 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 13. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 3 we read, the head of the woman is the man. So here we see that Paul is telling us not to be misogynist, as some people have accused him of being, but to stand up for the truth. In that, and a lot of people don't know that in these regions and in those days, there were cults, mystery cults, and just other religions in those areas. And in those areas where women were typically held to have a more of a spiritual link or connection, they were often speaking or prophesying, which is why they had oracles like the Oracle of Delphi and so on. And this also goes into what is called Tantraism, which is basically sex magic or sex. Well, you know, it's the same. Okay, you have the temple prostitutes or the sacred whores, because the prostitute may not be the right word for it, but you had women who were seen as having more spiritual connection and more spiritual link, and by engaging in sex with these women, they were getting closer to God. And their God, of course, was usually a goddess like Ishtar or Kybele or any other of those goddesses that they worship through sex. And so Tantraism, you also kind of see the same principle in the yoni and the, I forgot the name of it right now, but the when you have the phallic symbol and then you have the symbol of the womb, these opposites fusing, and then you have the generative spark, or the spark of life, and the between the compass and the square, and so on. This whole thing about the masculine and the feminine meeting and creating the generative power, and so on. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off on the rabbit trail there. I've touched on a lot of this other stuff in videos anyway. The Most High did not form Adam first for no reason. He did it because the male was always intended to be the head of the female, not to put the female in subjection, but so that they will be of clear order and leadership with the stronger vessel, lovingly protecting the weaker vessel. But by convincing the world that Adam was a hermaphrodite, or that the male and female were formed at the same time, suddenly that order is put asunder, and there is no longer any reason Jezebel can't take authority over the man. And this world is merely a shadow of the unseen world. We know that the things that appear were not made out of the things that appear. They were made out of the invisible. So this world is the shadow of that world. What we see here, you can reasonably estimate, exists on the other side. So the priest of Kybele here, Kybele's religion was a bloody cult that required its priests and priestesses as well as followers to cut themselves during some rituals. Now you'll notice in the Bible it tells you not to cut yourself. Well, this is the reason why. Well, one of the reasons why. The cult was a mystery religion, which meant that its inner secrets and practices were revealed to initiates only. The priests castrated themselves at their initiation. During the Republic or in early Empire, festival days in March and April were celebrated with eunuchs preceding the goddess through the streets, banging cymbals and drums, wearing bright attire and heavy jewelry, their hair long and greased. So what are Jezebel's tactics for bringing down a Christian nation, or a so-called Christian nation? I asked that question knowing damn well that our nation's capital is named after her. District of Columbia, anyone? Step number 1. Jezebel fills generations of women with her spirit.
Candy. I'm Steve Trevor's secretary.
What is a secretary?
I go where he tells me to go and I do what he tells me to do.
Oh, well, where I'm from, that's called slavery.
I really like her.
Fantastic. Ladies, after you.
I do. I like.
Step number 2. When men have been seduced into submission by the army of Jezebels, encourage them to embrace their feminine side, the quote feminine side. Step number 3. Raise up a nation of overmasculated, bloodthirsty men who think they're doing God a service by killing innocent people, and have them conquer the emasculated men of the Christian nation. Step number 4. Start the process all over again with a nation of Jezebels and homosexuals. The whole world becomes Sodom and Gomorrah.
She's just a girl and she's on fire, hotter than a fantasy, lonely like a highway. She's living in a world and it's on fire, filled with catastrophe, but she knows she can fly away. Oh, she got both feet on the ground and she's burning it down. Oh,
And so this red suit that she wears, well, first of all, the suit is masculine, right? But I know they make some suits for women, but mostly these suits are masculine. And given that the suit is also red, that makes it even more masculine. Now, oh, and she also wears the blue fingernail polish, so she was already looking androgynous when she marched out there. But given the fact that she's wearing the red suit, which is completely masculine, a red suit, and blue fingernail polish. Fingernail polish is something that belongs to a woman, not to a man. So the red suit that belongs to a man and the blue fingernail polish that belongs to a woman. She was really trying to be the embodiment of what I pointed out in my previous video about the red being the masculine and the blue being the representative of the feminine principle, and she's trying to be the balance of that. So okay, and so the red suit, now, okay, about the red, like I said, it's not always masculine. Like, okay, so if it's a dress, right, obviously the dress is not masculine, so then the red, it kind of takes on a different context then. So now with the red dress, a woman wearing a red dress represents something completely different. Now she's the whore of Babylon. Now she's the Scarlet Woman. And of course red is the color of sand, or crimson. And so what I guess she represents is Venus, the goddess of love, who we call the whore of Babylon. And I wanted to, well, what immediately jumped out to my mind today about the Scarlet Woman was Jessica Rabbit. And Jessica Rabbit, she's not only significant for her really ridiculously oversexed appearance, but also for her left eye symbolism. She always shows the left eye, and of course the left eye is the eye of Isis, the moon eye, and the right eye is typically the eye of the sun. But as I pointed out in a video what was it called, I changed the title. Now it's the all-seeing eye is a woman in the Bible. That's the new title. The all-seeing eye is a woman in the Bible. So in that video I pointed out that the all-seeing eye was originally the trait of the goddess, and now of course the symbolism has changed. Now it's more identified with Horus, but typically in the left eye still always represents the moon goddess. So that would be Isis, and so we have Jessica Rabbit flashing her left eye constantly. And also the name Rabbit, when you think about it, a rabbit or a bunny is associated with Ishtar or Easter, and of course the fertility goddess. And of course rabbits are known for the high rate at which they are able to reproduce. So they are fertility symbols, and so Jessica Rabbit is a fertility goddess, and she is Ishtar and Isis. And that probably, I know it went over my head when I was young, but I'm sure that went over a lot of people's heads. And speaking of things that went over my head, I am making an edit here because I am reminded of also Sailor Moon. I don't know how many people remember Sailor Moon, but I know I remember. I was in the right time period. I would think I was in high school when Sailor Moon first began to air in the US, and now I'm kind of dating myself here, but yeah, it was the 90s and I was in high school. And so I used to like the show. It was pretty good. It had a good, for a while it had a good story. But yeah, Sailor Moon is another one of those characters now that I look back on, and I can see a lot of very occult symbols, and which surprises me, because I didn't know that the Japanese were that aware of some of the mystery symbolism, especially of the moon goddess. But I guess it spread further than I thought. So you have the main character, Sailor Moon, who is also called Usagi Tsukino, and that means moon rabbit. And of course, as we just as I just said, the rabbit is a fertility symbol of Ishtar. And Sailor Moon has the habit of often but focusing on or winking one eye and emphasizing the left eye, which is the moon eye. And she often does the hand salutes, the moon hand salutes. And from what I can tell, there are two different ways to do that. Most people call them the devil horns, but it's actually called the moon hand, or the moon hand sign. And of course they do the V for victory sign a lot too, but that's kind of everywhere in Japanese culture now, so I can't really tell if Sailor Moon does the V sign, the hand sign, out of just the Japanese culture having picked that up, or if it's or she actually knows that she's holding up the sign for Venus or victory, who is the goddess Victoria. And so yeah, that's another thing that went over my head. And she is also, and her teammates were also named after the other gods and goddesses of ancient Greece. So you had Jupiter, what should I say, Rome, because Rome was the one who named Zeus Jupiter. But you had Venus, Mars, and all of them, and they were all into the, I guess, astrology really. But moving on from that, I want to look at Wonder Woman a little bit. Let's see, Wonder Woman, in this what was it, March or April, we had Batman v Superman come out, and Wonder Woman had a really small role in that movie, kind of small. To me, I thought she felt like she was shoehorned. Well, to me, she felt like she was shoehorned into the movie, and I don't know why they made the choice to put her in there, but they did. I guess they wanted to get her out there because they thought her movie was going to flop unless they put her in the movie before. I don't know, but I noticed that when she was on the screen, especially with Batman and Superman, they typically placed her in the middle between the two of them, Batman and Superman. And so, well, first of all, when it was announced that she was even in the movie, before I get on to the other point, it was I know because I was a comic book fan, and I was on the forums, and I was having these conversations. We were asking, well, if Wonder Woman was going to be in this movie, why didn't they put her name in the title? I mean, because she's a big deal with DC Comics, and that's the comic book company who Batman and Superman belong to. She's part of their so-called their trinity of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And so we're all like, kind of, why isn't her name in the title if she's going to be in this movie? But now that I think about it, well, and not only that, but when you see the cover for the DVD be announced, right? The question came up even more. Okay, look, Wonder Woman once again is standing front and center, and her name is not in the title. Why is she not even in the title of the movie? And yet, whenever she's with Batman and Superman, they keep her in the middle and sort of front and center. And then so yesterday, as I thought about it, it came to me really that maybe her name, or not her name, but maybe her symbol was in the title of the movie. And the movie was called Batman v Superman, and there maybe the symbol is there in the letter V, and because it was always an odd choice to begin with. If you're going to have a movie about Batman versus Superman, why wouldn't you call it Batman versus Superman, Batman vs Superman? Why Batman v Superman? What is that? What is Batman v Superman? And so it occurred to me yesterday that, hey, you know what, the V is a chevron, and it's the Masonic square, and the Masonic square represents the goddess. And not only this, but the square is the V, or the chevron, is the Roman numeral 5, and 5 is the number of points on the pentagram, which is associated with the star Venus. And so, and of course, the planet Venus is named after the goddess Venus. And so the V, or the chevron, or the 5, actually represents Wonder Woman, and not, you know, as a goddess. And actually she is literally a goddess. Her name is Diana Prince, and of course Diana is the moon goddess, or as you recall in Acts chapter 19, greatest Diana of the Ephesians. Paul had to come up against those people up there in Turkey, not far from Pergamon, actually, or Pergamos. It doesn't matter how you say it, but and so back to the point of her being a goddess, basically, in this fictional world. Her birth is also semi virgin, because she was formed out of clay by her mother, and in some origins there was actually it was just a prayer that brought her to life, and in some versions it was actually a lightning bolt from Zeus that brought her to life.
I do not deserve you.
Have you never met a man before? I mean, what about your father?
I had no father. I was brought to life by Zeus.
Well, that's neat.
And in that symbolism there, with the lightning bolt from heaven, we have almost the symbolism of the male and the female meeting, and then you having the spark of life in the middle, or the generative power in the middle, which the Masonic G can represent. I'm becoming a firm believer that this G represents many things and not just one thing, but one of the things that it could represent is the generative power, the life-giving, the spark of life. And so when you have the lightning from the heaven meeting the earth beneath, that is the male, or the masculine, meeting the feminine, and it's also symbolized in the triangle, the upward pointed triangle, which is masculine, and the downward pointed triangle, which points to the earth and the matter and material world, the material world. So those two things combined is going, as I also mentioned in a video, the previous video, how the sex magic and all of that stuff works, where it's all about the male and the female coming together and all of that stuff. But anyway, I'm probably rambling on. So going back to the cover again. Okay, so Diana is standing between Batman and Superman, right? And so what Superman represents is the sun god, or the light, god of light, Apollo, and Batman is the black sun, the god of the underworld, or the god of darkness. And so Diana being in between the god of light and the god of darkness makes her the balance, or the middle ground, or the middle pillar. Okay, she is the, you know, if Superman is good and Batman is evil, then Diana is good and evil. You know, see how that works. So and so in that kind of in the Superman is life, Batman is death, then Diana is life and death, and that goes into the symbolism of the Black Madonna, or the Dark Mother. So back to Batman and Batman v Superman. Okay, so with Wonder Woman, not only is she Diana, but she is, if you would notice that on her little, I guess you would call it the tiara or the crown on her head or whatever, she has the 8-pointed star, and you see the 8-pointed star in her in her movie trailer also once. It's on the floor. I've seen somebody call it the cube before. It's actually not a cube, it's an 8-pointed star. And so as Ishtar, of course she is the mother of Tammuz, and also the lover of Tammuz. And of course Tammuz dies and he goes into the underworld, and this is the kind of I'm going right back into the symbolism of the Black Mother again. But so the sun god, when he dies, he becomes the black sun when he's in the underworld, and during this time the goddess and the black sun are they rule, right? Because and so Batman is the black sun here, he's the dark side. And so what we have is the symbolism of the Black Madonna and her son. And in this case, since Superman is in the ground, in the underworld, Batman is taking the place of the sun, right, the black sun. And while previously, before Superman died, Batman was more of the Typhon figure who killed the sun god Osiris. But now that the sun god is in the heart of the earth, or the what do you call it, the belly of the whale, or the belly of the Leviathan, Rahab the Leviathan, or returning from the heart of the earth, the God heart tunnel, or the Goddard tunnel, or the Gaia's heart, or the God heart abyss. So much confusion surrounds the legend of the Knights Templar. As with everything, there is an official story, there's a true story, and there's an untold story. The official story is what they want everyone to believe. The quote, true story is the version put out there to make those in search of the truth think that they found the truth and stop there. The true story is purposefully controversial or sinister sometimes to make it that much harder to resist. The untold story is the one that's actually based on reality, but the problem is that it seems so far removed from both the official story and the true story that it ends up going nowhere. That's why it's the untold story. It's like a piece to the puzzle that no one has a clue what to do with, because they don't even realize that it's a piece to the puzzle to begin with. That's how the real truth can be hidden in plain sight. This will be my third video on the Baphomet, and this one involves the Knights Templar. Among the many criminal charges that King Philip IV brought against the Templars were heresy and idolatry. They were accused of worshipping something called the Baphomet. Today we hear that name and we think of the horned, goat-headed hermaphrodite. If asked who it is, most Christians would probably say the devil. And they're right, in a way. The problem is that they have in their minds the image of a devil that's completely false and misleading. But that's all part of the plan, because the real devil, the real enemy of man, in the Most High God looks nothing like the image of the Baphomet we've been given. But as long as you don't know that, as long as you think Satan looks like this big hairy hermaphrodite, you'll never see the real enemy for who she is, or who she claims to be even. So Eliphaz Levi, which is not really his real name, but Eliphaz Levi is the person who drew this Baphomet image. From Wikipedia, Eliphaz Levi, born Alphonse Louis Constant, February 8, 1810, and died May 31st, 1875, was a French occult author and ceremonial magician. Eliphaz Levi, the name under which he published his book, was his attempt to translate or transliterate his given names, Alphonse Louis, into the Hebrew language. This is a note from me. Eliphaz did claim that his drawing was of the Baphomet of the Knights Templar, but in my opinion, since Eliphaz Levi was not born until 1810, which is almost 500 years after the Knights Templar were dissolved, his drawing of Baphomet is very unlikely to have anything to do with the real Baphomet, or Sophia, that the Templar were accused of worshipping. From Hermetic.com, in the eyes of the Western world, Eliphaz Levi's illustrations of Baphomet is a representation of the Christian devil, the source of all evil. The French occultist illustration from his magnum opus, Transcendental Magic, shows a winged, gold-headed creature, a pentagram on his forehead, surrounded by occult symbols, all iconography associated with the devil. A pitchfork and a barbed tail are all that would be needed to complete the stereotype. So this is that stereotypical image of the devil that we receive. But as I mentioned earlier, that is a false image given to us. From TemplarHistory.com, somewhere between the years of AD 1118 through 1120, King Baldwin II granted the group quarters in a wing of the royal palace on the Temple Mount, the Al-Aqsa Mosque. It has been generally accepted that for the first 9 years of their existence, the Templars, as they came to be known, consisted of 9 members. In 1310, the Templars were officially dissolved by Pope Clement V at the Council of Vienna. I think that's Vienna. Although the Templars were not found guilty of the crimes they were charged with, idolatry being one, it was felt that the reputation of the order had fallen to so low a state as to warrant dissolving the order. On March 18th, 1314, the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake for having recanted his earlier confessions of guilt. The Baphomet mythos. Central to the accusations brought against the Knights Templar was that they worshipped an idol, said to have taken the form of a head or sometimes a black cat. Although the popular mythology related to the Templars gives this idol the name of Baphomet, the fact remains that in all the testimonies against the Templars, the term Baphomet was used but twice. From northernway.org, Templarism is a form of esoteric Christianity. Perhaps one could call it underground Christianity. Sometimes Templarism is inaccurately called Gnosticism, later called downright heresy by the Church. As well we know, secret codes and ciphers were used to conceal certain of their most dangerous doctrines, such as the existence of a co-creator, a goddess partnered with God the Father. This is a note from me. I believe it is very accurate to call Templarism Gnosticism. As you will see, they have a lot in common. The great goddess Sophia was this being, and it was she who incarnated as Mother Mary, and perhaps Mary Magdalene. Though it is unclear, since both Mary and Mary Magdalene lived at the same time, Some theories are that the Shekinah was Mother Mary and Sophia was Mary Magdalene. Surely it is not mere coincidence that both women bore the same name. Miriam, later derived into Mary, its Greek form. From northernway.org again. The Atbash cipher proved that Baphomet was a code word, a cipher for the name Sophia. You can also see this on TemplarHistory.com. You will see that the Atbash cipher, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, says Baphomet one way, and reversed it results in Sophia. So from The Goddess, the Grail, and the Lodge by Alan Butler, page 221 through 223, there are clues as to the true nature of the beliefs that the highest members of the Knights Templar espoused, into which initiates proved worthy and capable were gradually brought. These existed from the very start of the institution and were part of the original rules of the order. They had been drawn up by Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. The Templars never lost faith in Bernard. It is said that during his long captivity, Jacques de Molay composed a prayer to and concerning Saint Bernard. Bernard had remained the single most important individual to Templarism for nearly 200 years. Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, presumably with the full sanction and agreement of the original Templar Knights, had dedicated the knightly order unequivocally to the Virgin Mary. All its endeavors were undertaken in her name, and it was this name that they cried as they went into battle. The Templars were, from the beginning to end, a Marianist brotherhood. Bearing in mind Saint Bernard's own reverence for Mary, or whatever she actually represented in his mind and heart, it is likely that the original Templars, and perhaps the whole order for 200 years, maintained a common belief with Bernard. Source, America, Nation of the Goddess, The Venus Families and the Founding of the United States by Alan Butler and Janet Walter, page 96. Bernard's adoration of the Virgin Mary knew no bounds, and it all started with a most unusual encounter when he was a young priest. According to his own words, Bernard had been praying before a statue of the Virgin when she lifted her hand to her breast. Drops of milk then fell from her breast into Bernard's open mouth. And there are images of this event that you can find if you search for Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. If you search for his name, they will pop up. You don't have to search milk squirting or anything. From that moment on, he committed himself exclusively to the Virgin Mary, and it was something he passed on. Although historians often point to the veneration the Knights Templar have for John the Baptist, in reality, their patron was always the Virgin Mary. Almost all Cistercian abbeys were named for her, as were many, if not most, Templar churches. Back to The Goddess, the Grail, and the Lodge again. The bearded head mentioned in the original charges is interesting, and it may represent the vestiges of a much earlier and essentially pagan belief. The Celts, in particular, had a cult of the severed head. Examples of sculpted stones can be found all over the Celtic world. This head may also have related John the Baptist, for whom the Templars had a special reverence. But of course, that's the official story. Even more likely is the suggestion that the bearded head could have represented the Green Man. Effigies of the Green Man are to be seen in many Gothic churches and cathedrals. Generally speaking, the Green Man is simply a face. He is usually depicted as being composed of branches and leaves, and quite often has tendrils of plants emanating from his mouth and nostrils. Few historians now doubt that the Green Man is a hangover from the days of nature worship, and in particular, worship of the goddess. Here's a note from me. The Green Man is also named Cernunnos. This is Apollyon in your Bible. Of special interest is the name that Philip's representative said the Templars attributed to this head, namely Baphomet. The word Baphomet has a very special meaning. As early as 500 BC, Hebrew writers and scholars had begun to use a code which has come to be known as the Atbash cipher. A full realization of the importance of the Atbash cipher only came to light with the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Essene in particular used this method of hiding specific truths. The Atbash cipher is a fairly simple substitution cipher. It was the highly respected New Testament scholar Dr. Hugh Schonfield who realized exactly what Baphomet meant when the Atbash cipher was applied to it. In all probability, the name Baphomet had nothing to do with the mysterious bearded head of the Templars, and the confusion may have been due to the ineptitude on the part of Philip IV's interrogators. A reminder, the Templars were accused of idolatry, and King Philip IV had interrogators to get them to confess of their crimes, their alleged crimes. However, the word was still of tremendous importance to the Templars because once it has gone through the mill of the Atbash cipher, Baphomet comes out as Sophia. The Templars were dedicated to the Virgin Mary, for whom they showed what amounted to an obsession. Saint Bernard of Clairvaux had deliberately manipulated the Catholic Church of his day to virtually deify Mary. The Templar order was accused of worshipping Baphomet, which we know is a code word and which really means Sophia. Sophia in turn is often represented as a dove. The dove has represented the goddess for thousands of years. It seems more and more likely that the true religious imperatives of the Templars meant that, in 14th century Christian terms, they were guilty as charged. That is all I have. Thank you for watching. Just so that there is absolutely no confusion, I will reiterate one more time that the Baphomet name has nothing to do with the goat-headed image that Eliphaz Levi created, and it has nothing to do with the head of the John the Baptist, that according to the official story is John the Baptist, but we know the truth behind that is that it is the Green Man, Apollyon. So the Baphomet has nothing to do with those two things at all. The Baphomet is a word, a code word for Sophia, or wisdom, which points us to the Virgin Mary, or the Catholic Virgin Mary, the woman that they claim is the Virgin Mary. But now we know that that is not the truth. We know who she really is. This woman is Satan. She is the adversary. And so now that you know, you can hopefully fight the lies and deceptions with the truth. So thank you for watching. I hope you're all edified. Jesus bless you, and please comment below if you got anything out of the video. Thank you.